Okay, so we're back, and we got Jess Bishop here on the show with us. Last week, we spoke about his, how do I say, his shenanigans in the film industry. But right now, we're going to be discussing what he does in his passion in photography. Because he photographs tornado, he chases tornado. I never thought until speaking to him, he's the first person I ever, on TV and then on Megaphone, we've met a lot of people and we've spoken to a lot of people, but he's the first I've heard. I mean, he's the first I heard of who does this, who chases tornado. I didn't even know that was a thing until speaking to him. So we're so excited to be talking about this and have him explain what he does. And that seems to be an exhilarating experience and a hell of an adventure. So, Jess Bishop, welcome to the show. Welcome
Well,
back.
thank you for having me on again, and I'm happy to be here. And yeah, just let me know when you're ready to dive in, because tornado chasing is it's very interesting, and I've had some crazy stories.
I mean, tornado chasing is like it even has a term, as if it were some kind of sport. As a matter of fact, do you know a lot of people a lot of people into this, or because indeed, as I explained, it's as rare as us never hearing about it in a lifetime. So, do you know a lot of people who kind of like do what you do, who share your hobbies?
Well, I've met a few people, and this is kind of interesting because I do photojournalism. I've also interviewed some of the people at the NOAA, the National Oceanic Administration, which is in Oklahoma. It's down in Norman. And I interviewed a guy named Don Burgess a few years ago. They had a special project called Vortex, and it's a collaboration where all the colleges, universities, all the scientists get together and go out and study these severe storms. And I've got that up on my YouTube channel. But the main guy that everybody that got me inspired in it was a guy named Reed Timmer. And anybody that storm chases knows him. I've met several other storm chasers. Since I grew up here in Oklahoma, we have tornadoes. We can have them every month of the year here. Now, usually the big ones are in the spring. I have been in the largest tornado ever recorded on the planet, Mother Earth, 2.6 miles wide, and it was incredible. It went from like an average size tornado to 2.6 miles wide within a minute and a half. And so it was really intense. It lasted a long time. It broke all the rules. At one point, I was literally running for my life. It had just gotten so crazy. The highest wind speed ever recorded on Earth is a few miles from my home, and that was a wind speed of 318 miles an hour anywhere on the planet, just a few miles from where I live. And that was the May 3rd, 1999 tornado. The other tornado, the 2.6 mile wide one, that was May 30th, 2013. I was actually working on Rudderless with William H. Macy, and he took a break and allowed me to go storm chasing during that little hiatus. And but that was one of the craziest experiences. I had a tornado go through my backyard as a kid. It was a small one. I was looking out the window. I just saw this wall of white, and I couldn't figure out what I was seeing. And I ran around. We had a patio, and there was a glass door, and I saw all my toys just being blown away. And I'm trying to get outside to grab them, and my mom's holding me back, like, "Don't go out there." And I can't figure out what's going on. I'm not sure she exactly knew, but it was a small tornado. It's what we call an EF0 or an EF1. It's very low, does very little damage. But that went through my backyard as a kid, and I've just kind of been intrigued by him. And that was another thing. At the same time that I started doing the film, I decided to chase full time. Oklahoma had become the earthquake capital of the United States at that point. which was very unusual. We don't have earthquakes here. A few. We had a big one that was like 3 on the Richter, but all of a sudden we started having earthquakes all the time, 120, over 120 a day. And I knew it was related to the oil industry and fracking, but they tried to deny it. There was a giant sinkhole that opened up over in western Oklahoma, and I was out there chasing, and I was waiting for some storms and some weather conditions to happen. It didn't quite happen. So I thought, well, I'm out here, it's like I remember the story about this giant sinkhole opening up. And I said, let me go film that. And so I filmed this giant sinkhole. It was a farmer. He had a sense of humor, and he built a scarecrow and a fishing pole going down into the sinkhole, which was full of water. And I videoed it. I took it back. I uploaded it to YouTube. And usually I get 3 views after I call everybody I know. But I uploaded that video, and I was checking to make sure it uploaded right. I hit refresh. And when I hit refresh, it said 100 views. And I was like, what? YouTube is broken. And I hit refresh again. It said 200 views. In 3 days, it had over 15,000 views. And from that, there was a guy that was part of Corbis, which is a photography company owned by Bill Gates. And he called me and said, hey, can we use that footage? We're working on a documentary in London called What Happens Next. It is for part of a TV station, Channel 24. And I said, sure, you can use it. You can use it for free. And he said, well, what made you go out there? And I said, well, I was chasing tornadoes. He said, chasing tornadoes? Oh my God, send us everything you got. And then so that started my career with Corbis as a photographer. And I covered everything, tornadoes. I did an interview with Joe Exotic, the Tiger King, in his heyday. But I've been, to get back to the tornadoes, I've been up and close personal with tornadoes. I was just in Iowa. I had some tornadoes there. And so it's just, it's exciting, it's interesting, and I love getting these photos and videos in the now. And I had a couple photos on natgeo.com, time.com, and those are some aftermath photos, because sometimes the destruction these things do is unbelievable. At the higher end, what we call an EF5, which is the enhanced Fujita scale, the tornado will wipe the ground completely clean. And sometimes it'll even tear the asphalt and concrete off the road, leaving nothing but dirt. That's how powerful these things can get.
So, I mean, how can you stand? Because I was wondering, how can you survive a tornado if it tears the asphalt, the cement? I mean, the sidewalk, it wreaks havoc. It creates so much damage. It damages houses. So how do you stand next to a tornado to the point of photographing it? Sorry for the ignorance, but it's kind of hard it's unfathomable.
Well, I don't actually get in it. I get as close as I can, and I gauge it. Most of the time, the more picturesque, more beautiful ones are a little farther off, but each tornado is different. So you just have to gauge how close you can get, the direction that it's going, its path, how much energy is in the air, all those things. I try to get close. I don't get so close that I'm going to get sucked in it. Although I've had a few instances where I've been worried that maybe I got too close. I like to chase them, but I don't like to be in them. And I had an incident about 2 years ago when I was in Kansas, and the tornado actually lifted and then came back down right in front of me, and I didn't realize it had lifted. I thought it was still on the ground in front of me, and that was more intense than I like to experience when I'm chasing. So we gauge these things, and it's always a kind of a measure of, the wind speed, the direction, all those things, so that I don't, wind up killing myself, but you get the thrill of the chase.
So what is the rule of thumb? Like, do you have an app that measures the wind speed at your position, say where you're standing? Because like, how do you know you're not necessarily far too close?
Well, a lot of it is just kind of experience. I have a device that I put on top of my car. It's called an anemometer, and it's a little device that spins and tells me the wind speed. And if I know the wind speed is getting over 100 miles an hour, I usually don't like to get any closer than that, because then I know then it's I'm getting in a danger zone once it goes over 100.
Wow. So now let's discuss your photojournalism experience, because you're also a photojournalist, aren't you?
Yes, I am. I was coming back from Kansas last spring, and I saw some unusual stripes in the sky, what we call anti-crespular rays. And I posted that to Twitter, and Storyful picked that up. But I've had stories that have been featured on AOL, MSN, Yahoo News, LAD Bible, Huffington Post, Daily Motion. It's just Chinese websites. There was a Guatemalan newspaper, Libre Prensa, that picked up some photos of a tornado in Arkansas. I've had German papers pick up some stories. There was some wood, some construction wood, what we call here in the United States 2x4s. It's the dimension of the board, and they were inside the car, and they featured that in their newspaper. And New York Daily Times. The list is so extensive, I can't really remember all of them. Just kind of giving you some of the highlights, but yeah, everything in the United Kingdom, I've probably been in it at some point. The British love what I do.
I guess we've covered. Is there anything that you'd like to mention to before we close the interview for today?
No, I think that's it. Thank you for having me on, and I'm glad I had the opportunity to speak with you.